is up, guys? Welcome back to Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho. Thank you so much for watching. And today we are talking about the Dallas Cowboys draft review. And guys, I am not going to bury the lead. This is probably my favorite draft of all 32 teams. I think the Cowboys absolutely murdered this draft class. And a lot of it was just insanely lucky. I mean, I don't think there's any way else to say it as far as just the amount of value that they had, where they were picking, the guys that fell to them. It just worked out really, really well for the Dallas Cowboys. But at the end of the day, you still have to make those picks. You still have to make the right decisions, and I think they did that. So I'm not going to bury the lead. This is an A-plus draft, and really I'm just going to show you guys why I believe that. And we're going to start with my guidelines for the draft, which they passed with flying colors. First of all, what was the plan? Well, for me, the Cowboys, the plan was best available, and I think they did that throughout the draft. They made moves when they had to, but at the end of the day, they were just looking to add talent to their team, and they did that in a big way. As far as did they draft an offensive lineman within the first 4 rounds of this draft class? Yes, they did. They actually traded up into the 4th round, sending a 5th round pick this year and a 5th round pick next year to trade up to pick 146 and take a center out of Wisconsin to beef up that offensive line. And this is something the Cowboys do pretty much every single year, constantly adding talent to that offensive line, which is so important. And last but not least, did they add the strength of the draft? Did they take a wide receiver, which was clearly the position that had the most depth in this draft? Did they take one at some point in this draft? And yes, they did. They took it at number 17 overall with, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in this class. So they got insane value there as well. But without further ado, let's actually talk about the first 3 rounds. And the reason I only talk about the first 3 rounds is because that's where I think you're getting the guys that are going to be difference makers right away. So with pick number 17 in the first round, the Cowboys take CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. And if you guys are really interested in a deep dive on why I love CeeDee Lamb so much, I do have a draft profile for him that I did probably right before the combine. I think that's about when I made it. And I just talk about how he is the best player. He is the most complete player. And he just falls in their lap at 17 overall. I don't think this is a guy the Cowboys were necessarily thinking about taking. I don't think this is a guy that the Cowboys thought were going to be there at 17. I certainly didn't. I did not think there was a chance that CeeDee Lamb got past number 12 overall, but he does. He falls to 17, and this is just one of those situations where the Cowboys saw the insane value of a guy who probably should have been a top 10 pick, but this was a very loaded draft class, and he ended up falling, and the Cowboys are able to get a guy who I think is going to be a star right away. Now it's going to be him, Amari Cooper, and a very good Michael Gallup, who they drafted a couple years ago, as their starting 3 wide receivers. That is an insane duo for Dak Prescott. Not to mention that they have an awesome offensive line. They have a great running back in Zeke Elliott. There is absolutely no excuse for this Cowboys team to not be incredibly dominant on the offensive side of the ball, especially. And not to mention that they do have a pretty good defense as well. This Cowboys team looks dominant this year. And in round 2, number 51 overall, cornerback out of Alabama, Trevon Diggs. This is one of the top 5 corners in this class. And again, this is a guy who just fell into their lap at 51 overall. Diggs is a guy who covers a need for the Cowboys. This is probably the biggest need coming into this draft. After losing Byron Jones to the Dolphins in free agency, they're able to replace him with Trevon Diggs, a guy who has incredible ball skills, probably the best ball skills from the cornerback position, and is a complete and is truly a complete corner in my opinion. He does lack elite speed, which I think is why he fell out of that first round range. He's just not a guy who's going to be a complete burner and be able to keep up with the elite speed receivers in this game. But other than that, this is a guy who is a complete corner who can grow into a lockdown corner in this game. A guy who has the upside of a top 25 pick, who falls out of the top 50 at pick number 51. And again, just a guy who fell into the Cowboys' lap. I mean, and especially for a position that was a need for the Cowboys. So it works out really well for them again. And in round 3, pick number 82 overall, they do take Neville Gallimore, defensive tackle out of Oklahoma. Another guy out of Oklahoma. And again, this is a guy who I thought could have gone in the top 50. I think I even saw some mocks where he went into the bottom of the first round. The upside for this guy is huge. I understand him falling because he does have high highs and low lows. But at the end of the day, this is a guy who is incredibly explosive. He is raw at the position, but he has all the tools to grow into a complete defensive tackle. And again, he's going into a position where he doesn't have to be the guy on the defensive line. There's already great pieces along that Cowboys defensive line. He's just another piece to add into that front seven, specifically the middle of that front seven. He will be explosive. I do believe he will create pressure through the interior. He'll be able to clog up holes and sniff the ball out in the run game. And I think he will be a presence in pass rush as well, as far as his ability to get upfield and explode past centers and guards. I think that's a thing that I think that's something he's going to be good at as well. Neville Gallimore, a guy who is raw, did show some bad tape at times, but at the end of the day, a guy who I think has the upside of a top end starter, and they're able to steal him in the 3rd round. Just an insane top 3 picks for the Cowboys, getting guys that I think have insane value for where they got him, and insane upside just as a player in the NFL. As far as draft day trades, I already mentioned it. They traded up into the 4th round with their division rival, the Eagles, to get a center, Tyler Biadasz, out of Wisconsin. And all they had to do was send a 5th round pick this year and a 5th round pick next year to move up into that spot. So it actually worked out really well for the Cowboys, giving up limited value and receiving a center who can compete for that starting center job that they lost when Travis Frederick retired this offseason. So it worked out again for a team that did have a need at that center position. Now, I do believe they already have a guy who is going to come in and compete as the starter, but now they're just getting another piece that if he doesn't come in and start right away, he's going to be a depth piece on that offensive line, which is so important for the offensive line position. So a great move by the Cowboys to trade up. All in all, I think my favorite move from this draft was the CeeDee Lamb pick. CeeDee Lamb was my number 1 wide receiver coming into this draft. I thought he was the most complete receiver, incredible with the ball in his hands, and has the ability to open up the offense in so many different ways. I loved this pick for the Cowboys. I think it kind of would have made sense that they passed on him and drafted maybe a position that was maybe a little bit more of a need position for them. But at the end of the day, I mean, how do you pass up on this kind of talent at 17 overall? He had no business being there at 17 overall. I think in most draft classes, he doesn't fall that far, but in this loaded receiver class, in this loaded class that had top end talent at defense, had top end talent at the quarterback position, guys like this just happened to fall a little bit, and it just worked out really well for the Cowboys here at 17 overall. And my least favorite pick, I don't have one. There's not one move that I didn't like for the Cowboys. Now, I don't like to do that very often for these kind of videos. I would at least try to be nitpicky and try and pick something out. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I sat here for a while when I was writing the rundown for this video, trying to figure out where did they make a mistake? What did they fail at? And short of saying, hey, I didn't like their 7th round pick, I thought they maybe could have gone somewhere else there, there's not one, and I'm not going to sit here and complain about a 7th round pick. I just can't do that. So no, there is not one thing that I had a problem with in this draft. I thought it was a complete and perfect draft. And as far as my biggest surprise for the draft, just the insane value that they were able to get. And I think I've echoed this throughout the video. Man, I mean, they just got home run picks. I truly believe home run picks with their 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round. And really, if you go throughout the draft, I think they hit home run picks in the 4th and 5th round as well. I mean, they were able to add another cornerback out of Tulsa in the 4th round, a guy who can compete for that starting nickel position or compete for the starting job if Trayvon Diggs doesn't end up being as good as I expect him to be. I think he's going to be a depth piece in one of those situations where the Cowboys are doubling up on a position that they needed, which I always appreciate. They trade up for a center out of Wisconsin, which always sounds like a good decision. I mean, regardless of the film or what you thought of the player, offensive lineman out of Wisconsin is kind of all I need to hear, and I'm going to feel pretty good about it, especially in the 4th round. And man, I just think they killed this draft from beginning to end, and the amount of value that they were able to find throughout the draft, really. just awesome, just insane, and incredibly surprising to me. All right, guys, I'm going to close it out right there. I already said it. This is an A-plus draft. This is probably the best draft of all 32 teams in the NFL. They absolutely killed this draft. I think they added the most talent. I think we're going to look back in a couple of years and look at this draft class as a turning point for the franchise to get them over the hump into that legitimate contender conversation. I really think that's what the Cowboys did here. And man, I'm really excited to see what Mike McCarthy and this new Cowboys coaching staff can do with the amount of talent that they have on the field, because the talent is insane. Jerry Jones has done his job in the draft and adding talent to this team. Now it's Mike McCarthy's turn to take over and see if they can turn the Cowboys into a Super Bowl contending type of team. That's the type of upside that this team has. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe to this channel if you are interested in football content coming out weekly. I am doing a draft review on every single team in the NFL, so if you have another team that you're waiting on that you don't see on the channel yet, it's coming soon. And please leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought about the Cowboys draft. Let me know what you thought about anything in the world of football. I'm always interested in hearing what you guys think. Please check back for more videos and follow the journey. Peace out, guys.